So after I film the jumping off the pier video, I send it to WorldStar. It gets posted. It blows up on YouTube. It gets like 20 million views on Facebook. My whole channel starts to blow up, and eventually I get my first internet check, which is the most money I've ever seen in my life. I get my own apartment. I move out of my parents' house. Then eventually all of my videos on my channel gets copyrighted because I used copyrighted music. I started making no money.
I'm here today with Steezy Kane.
Yo.
You might have known him initially for some of his early work on YouTube, showing the pranks he'd do, but now he's a creative documentarian. And what I love about him is you might click on a thumbnail and title with something Mr. Beast style preposterous. I gave 1,000 people gasoline today, only to enter a high prestige, thoughtful piece of work that's almost like a movie, but on YouTube. And I think he's done a very interesting job blending the two different worlds.
Too kind, man. Too kind. Yeah, that was a little experiment that I wanted to try and do, like package a video like it's a Mr. Beast video with the face.
That was a good face. I feel like you've done that before for thumbnails.
Yeah.
Great face.
Yeah, you got to play the algorithm nowadays. Yeah. But then kind of clickbait the audience in a good way, to where the content is very laid back, which is risky because that kind of content doesn't really survive on YouTube. So it definitely doesn't work sometimes, but sometimes it'll work. Yeah. The only thing is that I just wanted to produce content that I would be happy with myself. The rule of thumb for anybody, just do what you want to do. But of course, give a little bit to the audience.
When you say you want to make content that's a bit true to yourself that you want to make, and that type of content doesn't necessarily survive on YouTube,
I think it's just, you just got to find a medium. Mm-hmm. And I think the pressure of what people want is good. I think it helps art. Like, imagine you take away any audience, you take away any attention spans, you take away any executives that want to change your stuff, and you are free to do whatever kind of art you want. That art is probably, ironically, going to be worse. It's going to be too long. It's going to be too, like you. So I think, people really look down on what people want from them and what execs want from them, what an algorithm wants from them. But I see it as like an important pressure that we need. Sometimes it's too much, but sometimes it helps the art be better.
So for you, the constraints actually inspire creativity. You need the guidance.
Yeah, limitation inspires creativity. And like even in the movie industry, if a writer sells a script, all these exec and producers come in to fix it up. Oh, maybe the hook is too long. Just tightening up the script. They're not trying to ruin your creative idea. They're trying to help make this the best it can be. So when it does feel annoying sometimes for somebody to come in and start decorating your house a different way, they're just trying to make it more prettier with you. It's teamwork. Yeah.
It's actually a fascinating concept that the algorithm is, in a way, its own set of directors, producers, editors at scale.
Yeah, but with algorithm, for what I just said, I'll say it less for algorithm, still a little bit, but the algorithm's a little tricky because it's set in stone and it's a machine. So that one is the scariest one for sure.
In both cases, their pressure, where they're coming from, is wanting your work to be seen by as many people as possible.
Yeah, which sometimes isn't always the best thing. Sometimes you don't want millions of people to view it. Sometimes you would rather have the art be better and have 10,000 people view it. Yeah. And
so for yourself, you grew really quickly and built a really large audience starting with one format. You started to transition to another. What helped prompt that change? Was it one day you woke up and you said, hey, I want to do something new? Or was it like a gradual shift? I think it was always with me. In high school, I auditioned for this short film. And I got the supporting role. And as soon as I stepped on set, I saw the director working with the DP and the boom operator and the PAs.
20-person crew helping paint this picture together. And that's when I fell in love with film. But when I started YouTube, I did pranks and stuff. But I always knew in the back of my mind I want to do film. So I just have to figure out how I can transition, which I'm lucky that pranks and film aren't that far away from each other. So it's not that hard of a shift. It might be a little bit more trickier if somebody does YouTube videos and wants to go into music. Those are kind of far away. It's still possible, of course, but I feel blessed that they're not too far away, you know.
I also like your concept how the restrictions and constraints can actually inspire creativity, because when I look at your work now, I feel that the prank DNA is still there, very powerfully felt.
Oh yeah, definitely. I always want to toy with the idea of mixing unscripted scenes, being the pranks, with narrative story.
Yeah.
And blending them together to where you make the audience scratch their heads and go like, did this actually happen? Or was this part of the story? Or like, have you ever seen Bad Grandpa with Jackass?
I've seen clips, yeah.
Or Bad Trip, the Eric Andre movie?
I haven't seen that one, but yeah.
Well, yeah, they do all of that stuff where they take a narrative, but they make the spine of the film like people's reactions in public.
Oh, it's like, I suppose, Borat as well.
Yeah,
Borat
Borat as well. Have a confession. I've never seen Borat, but
that's okay. Confession. I have never seen Borat either.
Yeah.
But it speaks to the cultural impact the film has had. Just through osmosis, we both kind of know what it's about.
Yeah, of course. I really do need to watch it though. Yeah.
And even before the work you're doing now, you at some point decided to start filming pranks, right? You talked about how your evolution, your goal has always been film, but you started doing that through filming pranks. What helped inspire you to start putting that on YouTube?
The pranks on YouTube?
Yeah.
Just growing up watching like Angry Picnic or Nelk. When I was around 14, 15, all the content I consumed were prank videos. And even before that, when I was 12, I always watched Jackass. So all of these people, I don't know, it's just, I'm part of a whole generation who grew up watching Jackass and all of this. And we got inspired like, wow, these people are making a living doing the dumb stuff we do every day at school, you know? So I think just naturally growing up, pranks is what I wanted to head into first.
What I kind of love too is you don't necessarily fit the image of a typical YouTube prankster.
Really?
You have, now that I know you better, there is a certain playfulness, a certain mischievousness about you. But upon first meeting and talking with you, you're serious, you're earnest. You're not necessarily this grinning jokester off of camera. But now I'm seeing there's this sort of, as I said, clever wryness dancing around the edges, which I think you bring into your work.
I think when I really first started to fall out of love with pranks is when I'll get recognized in public and my fans will start coming up, running towards me, yelling, "Steezy Kane, yo!" And then they'll grab me, and because they think I'm this crazy high energy guy, and then they'll usually tell me like, "Yo, jump off of something, yo, do
right
some,
now, jump right now,
do some steezy." And that's not who I am, and that's another reason why I fell out of love with pranks. Is that's not me, and I realized, oh, this Steezy Kane persona is just some ego. It's some alter ego that I made in high school because I was desperate to be successful. I'm not a true like Jackass type of guy. I just thought that was the most easiest way to get successful, which it is. A lot of people are getting successful doing pranks and stuff. And I don't regret it at all, but I'm glad I'm realizing that's not me.
I remember you mentioned to me the other day that at a young age, you're like, laws of attraction, I have a goal. What was it, like 50 million views? There's a goal you set for yourself.
You said law of attraction?
Yeah.
So there's this video on YouTube titled "Learn This and You'll Never Be the Same" by UR creators. It talks about the law of attraction, reaping and sowing, all of that. I watched it and it made complete sense to me. For anybody who doesn't know what the law of attraction is, it's the thought that anything you think, you become what you think about. And it just made perfect sense to me. The energy that you put out into the universe will come back to you. So I commented on that video, hey, I have about 1.8 thousand subscribers right now. I now live by the law of attraction. I'm coming back to this video in 2 years when I have 1 million subscribers to prove that it works. And then, you know, I'll Photoshop my channel to have 1 million every day. I'll imagine it every morning that I am a successful YouTuber. And I hit 1 million subscribers in a year. So a lot earlier. And then, I went back to the comment that I commented on and I replied, just hit 1 million, LOL.
Did people notice it?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. The guy actually pinned it on the video now.
Wow.
Cause it's like documented and you can see all the replies of people documenting what subscriber count I'm at. You can see them go like, oh, you're at 500,000 now. Oh, you're at 600,000. You're almost there. It's pretty cool. It's like an online proof that like law of attraction works.
See, I almost sense these different selves in you. There is a New York Times article recently where they interviewed Emma Chamberlain, who spoke about YouTube for her was a jump pad, a canvas to explore her creativity and how she wants to move past it. And she literally said, I'm the opposite of Mr. Beast, who views YouTube as a business. And you're describing almost a blend between the two, because I hear you speak about your passion, watching these directors and editors at a young age, wanting to create and produce and direct yourself, balancing that with the watch and read my comment as I hit 1 million subscribers from where I am today at 1,000 and follow my journey, like and subscribe. There's sort of like this interesting both sides coming through in terms of what you do, the Emma Chamberlain and the Mr. Beast side.
Yeah. I mean, Emma Chamberlain and Mr. Beast are on two far ends.
It's like yin and yang
it's
energy.
Like West Coast, East Coast. So yeah, there's a lot of room in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think for what most creators do is they kind of play tug of war with the algorithm and with their selves. So, you know, you need to be happy with what you create, but you also need to play the game. You know, you gotta dance on the stage. I tried to make an acronym or
no. I love it, right?
Yeah,
because you want to dance.
Yeah, you can't dance on like the floor. Like nobody's gonna see you. You know, you're not gonna have a career if you're dancing in the bathroom. You need to dance in these like lines in this space. You need to wrap around the algorithm like it's your spine, but find your own
love that
way to wrap around it. I don't know.
No, it's like you're describing part of art. It sounds like for you, your conception of art involves the fact that it's going to be seen.
Yes, because you need that in a way.
Yeah.
But of course, it doesn't matter the size of your audience. Even if you're impacting 1 or 2 people, that's still fine. But I'm saying like, if you want to be successful and make it your living, then yeah, you're probably going to need at least 1,000 people, you know, like 1,000 true fans. Yeah. But of course, if money is not your goal, it doesn't matter what the size of your audience is. You can even have 1 fan that pays you $100,000 a year.
That's true.
If you have like 1 rich fan, if you want to make it a living,
it's like
of course.
truly the Renaissance era patronage. You find a wealthy aristocratic patron to just support you at court. 1 really rich noblewoman would be like, yeah, I've got you.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, money isn't real and you don't need it to be happy. There's some people who paint and they work a regular job, but when they're painting, they feel free and like, it doesn't really matter, you know?
When you're in the process of creating a video, does that feel free?
Oh, sometimes and sometimes not. Sometimes it could be very exhausting sitting down writing a script, but for the most part, it is very freeing because it's what I love to do. You know, I love to tell stories. I love to craft and say something through a screen.
Yeah, it really reminds me when we had dinner the other day, you asked me, hey, of course I help run Karat, which is a business focused on helping creators with their financials. And hey, I get to do this with you too, which is a lot more creative. And you asked how I balanced it. And I felt a lot of, in that moment, what you just espoused right there. I mean, that's for me, like, even if nobody is watching this as I glance around at all 3 cameras, I got to have this moment with you.
Yeah.
That's what makes it special.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's important, is to find your urgency.
Yeah.
Find the reason why you do it. And the reason could be to have people watching. That's fine. That's Mr. Beast's reason.
Yeah.
Well, actually, his reason is to make the best videos possible. I heard that that's like
he defines that partly as.
But yeah,
who's watching.
Yeah, which is fine. But yeah, even like a mother raising her child, that's one person, that's an audience, but the impact is so strong, you know.
You talked about when you were younger, you just had this urgent desire, speaking of urgency, to be successful. Why is that?
It's because I was in high school. I had senioritis. I didn't know what I was going to do after I graduated. And I just knew that I didn't want to be standing 8 hours a day because I was working at CVS at the time. And I don't know, it just came from like, wow, I need to do something not only to make money, but also something that keeps me occupied, that I'm passionate about. And so I don't know, I just, at the time, like I said, I was watching prank videos and I was like, that I think is the easiest way to get into this. And again, from the start, I knew I wanted to eventually do film, but I'm like, I'm going to start this because it seems fun right now, but eventually I know I'm going to make movies. Yeah.
And you went from CVS student, standing 8 hours a day, watching prank videos, to starting to make your own prank videos, blowing up, right? We always know Steezy Kane jumping off the pier for a girl.
Yeah.
the classic origin story.
Yeah.
And I remember you described to me, you entered a phase of your life that you called to me, what was it? Broke but famous?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Being broke and famous. Yeah.
Which is like such a weird, like usually the two don't seem to go together.
Yeah. It's irony. It's contrast. And so after I filmed the jumping off the pier video, I send it to World Star. It gets posted. It blows up on YouTube. It gets like 20 million views on Facebook. And
it's
then
like almost a tenth of the population of the United States, for context.
Oh, wow. Damn. Yeah,
people.
That's crazy. And then my whole channel starts to blow up. And eventually I get my first internet check, which is the most money I've ever seen in my life. And I get my own apartment. I move out of my parents' house. And then eventually all of my videos on my channel gets copyrighted because I used copyrighted music, how those two go together. And then, you know, I started making no money. I was like making $1,000 a month. One month was $500. And I had my own apartment. And, you know, I had 1 million subscribers making $1,500 a month. And it was just a really rough time. And it lasted almost a year because I was so young. I didn't know how to get brand deals. I didn't know how to do merch. And I was also a perfectionist, so I couldn't just be pumping out videos left and right. I want to make sure they're good. So yeah, I went through a really hard time I almost got evicted from my apartment, and the person in the leasing office recognized me from YouTube, but he's the one who gave me my eviction letter. So it's things like that of being broke and famous where fame ironically makes being broke even harder. So, you know, riding the bus and getting recognized there. Yo, you're the pier guy. Yo, what are you doing on the bus? You know, so it's like this weird, humiliating phase of like, that I'm not supposed to be here. Like, not in like a privileged way, but it's like, I have this huge platform. I'm doing something wrong. So it feels like I'm even messing up even more. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. You say you're on the bus and people recognize you and they're like, what are you doing here? It's like almost the expectations of you are so high because they recognize you and you feel you're letting them down.
At least when I was broke, I've been broke pretty much all my life before YouTube, but like before blowing up, at least I was invisible, you know, at least I could be broke in peace. But once I'm getting recognized everywhere, it's like, okay, this This is like 20 times more is worse. But at least I had that platform and I could eventually learn how to make money. And it took me a good like 2 years to really get out of that. The second year, I hired employees and got all these expenses. I started finally making money, but I was spending the same amount of money. So I had nothing left for me. So I was still pretty much broke, because it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And finally, I would say last year is the first year where I'm like, finally financially like great.
Yeah. And I love your point on it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, because you hired employees, meaning you weren't actually making that much, but it's an investment because you're thinking, how do I scale and build out my own business?
Yeah.
And I especially love, and again, I feel this is such a strong recurring theme for you. Almost, it's not a choice between, hey, I'm a starving artist, or hey, I'm just a business, Mr. Beast style. You're sort of finding that balance in between.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because I'm naturally creative. My brain just thinks visually. I just think stories all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm really bad with business. So for me, of course, I have to do business stuff, but my artist side needs to breathe way more than my business side, because that's the type of person I am. Yeah.
Although you mentioned being bad at business, I can tell you, having worked with many, many creators, you're actually amongst the top in your knowledge, your awareness, your philosophy.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
I mean, Isaiah, you'd be surprised.
I'm really bad with business.
What makes you think you're bad at it?
I like the way I feel like I'm not a good enough leader to lead employees. And I eventually, my relationship with my employees don't really turn out to be the best, because I'm just introverted and I feel like I need more of a bossy side. But once I realized that, I gave up being a leader, because I realized that's not for me. I tried to work on it, but, and then even just like with money as well, like I could keep track of everything a lot better. I feel like I don't manage it too well. Yeah. But I mean, it's a growing process, I believe.
When you mentioned not feeling like a good leader, I feel the exact same way myself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two things that made me think of. The first is there's this effect called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the more incapable and incompetent somebody is, the better they actually think they are at something. And the converse of that is typically, if you actually think you're not doing well, the very self-awareness you have might in fact mean you're doing better than you might think, compared to someone who's just like, I'm very suspicious whenever I meet a creator or founder and it's like their first year doing it. They're like, oh yeah, I'm killing it. I'm just the best manager ever. I'm like, that can't possibly be true. And you're probably even more worse because you're not even aware. And the second, the whole second part, I feel that too. Managing is so hard. And it's really different from doing the work yourself.
We were talking about that the other day of like how firing people is just so hard, which it should be. But sometimes, for me, at least for me, sometimes I'll procrastinate it, or not even just firing people, but like making business decisions that might not appease everybody. Sometimes I'll procrastinate on it to where it will hurt the business.
I've done the exact same. I think everyone in life prepares you on, hey, you should be really good at taking feedback. But weirdly, I feel people in life don't really prepare you till you got to learn how to give good feedback too. And that giving feedback doesn't mean you hate the person. It might actually be a reaffirmation of how much you care about them to share that feedback, versus, oh God, I'm sharing something that's not universally positive. They're going to hate me. It's going to be terrible. And that just makes me want to procrastinate, delay it.
Yeah. It's all about balance, which is, I think, the main answer to everything is balance. But I have some friends that don't give me any feedback and they say, yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Which you need some of that. And then I have some friends on the other extreme of like, yeah, no, that was not it, man. That was dog shit. Don't ever do that again. And I'll just like get depressed. So it's like, you need both. or if you really can, get friends that can do the middle.
Right. I was going to say, it sounds like you have like these people like, yeah, Steezy Kane. And people like, this was and it's just two different people.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is impossible to have like the perfect people to like give the perfect advice.
Yeah.
But as long as you have like just an equal amount of like people, I think that's fine too. As long as you don't have like yes men and nothing but yes men, that's bad. That's going to make you an and think you're the shit.
Negative Nancy's on the other side.
Or yeah, all negative Nancy's, then you're going to get depressed and want to quit. So yeah, balance, yin and yang.
What do you think is the best advice anybody's ever given to you in your life?
Oh, I've gotten some really great advice in the past couple of years. I think I went to a creator camp, and I forget who said this. I'm so sorry. I forgot who. But they told me that when I'm working on something, don't always get too down on making it perfect or worrying if it's going to work out or not. Because usually what you work on will always come into fruition, but it might not be right now. It might turn into something else. And I don't know why that hit so hard with me. I think because I'm working on a lot of things like a TV show, short films, or even other like documentary projects. And sometimes when something doesn't get picked up or something doesn't work out, I usually see that sometimes later down the line, even a couple of years later, it'll come up but turn into something else. Like somebody might ask me, hey, do you have any ideas for this show that we're working on? And I'll think of something that failed years ago and bring it there. So that made me realize, do everything. Even if you're going to take singing lessons, but you don't know why, it might come in handy later, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But like, don't ever think you're wasting your time. And yeah, that was some really great advice.
I love that. You're building capabilities. Even if you didn't get the piece of work you wanted from the initial effort, you learned something, which down the road you might draw on, or at least expands the inputs in your mind on what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like specifically this TV show that I'm working on, it's called Views, that I'm trying to get picked up on FX networks. And I have already worked on this for a year and a half already. And I know for sure it's going to get picked up. I'm very optimistic about it. Everything is perfect. But by the chance that it doesn't, I will not dwell on that or be sad for 1 second, because the knowledge that I got from working on this, learning how to write scripts and learning how to write treatments and pitching to people, that's value. That's immense value.
It's the only way. Every one of these processes, it's a game in its own way to know how to do it. And the only way you learn how to play is just by doing it. So regardless of what happens, even though you're already optimistic, just having that knowledge. That's
Yeah. Knowledge is another key.
I love that. All right. So we're going to play a game. It's based on this concept called 36 Questions to Fall in Love. And for those of you who don't know, the New York Times wrote an article about this. They took randomly selected pairs of people and they walked them through these questions designed all around intimacy. Let me share something about myself. And reciprocity. Preferably don't shit on it and share something back. And at the end of these questions, many of these pairs of people became good friends. And yeah, one pair did even end up dating and falling in love. That's the question.
That's wild.
36 questions to fall in love. So we're going to go through these. There are 3 different levels of increasing intimacy. We'll start with a couple from level 1, then 2, and then 3. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Have you ever played anything like this before?
No, I'm nervous. I don't know why.
That's good. It's good.
Because I know all of these are like really deep and hard questions to answer.
They start very simple. So we'll ease our way into it. So in the very beginning, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make eye contact. And I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. We're going to make eye contact. And the first person to blink or look away, they're going to draw the first card. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. I had to process it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of steps involved, but we'll do it. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Wait, is it also a blink?
Yeah, you definitely blinked already.
Damn, that was not long.
It's okay. All right.
Damn. Okay.
Question number 1. All yours. If it's a wild card, we don't typically do those, but everything else we will.
My eye started to sting. I don't know why. That was like I'm usually good at staring contests. But that was
Go for it.
okay. What does my phone wallpaper tell you about me?
All right, let's see the phone wallpaper.
I'll be right back.
Oh wow, Rodin the thinker.
Yeah. Yeah, what is that? Oh wait, show it again. It was like zoomed out.
That's a classic.
Yeah. What does that tell you about me?
So I think two parts. First, thinking about the sculptor Rodin. What was he thinking about when he constructed that work? And second, what does it mean for you to show it and display it? Regarding the first, I don't actually remember the story and history behind it. But for me, if you're going to literally sculpt a man in the process of thinking, it's because you want to make a statement around sometimes the process itself of figuring out what to do is more valuable than what actually comes out of it. And listening to what you just described to me, that everything you've worked on, it's not a question of it does succeed or fail because you learn something in that very process that ends up helping you down the road. You strike me as a, thoughtful person who cares about what I'm doing. Is this right? Am I going to learn something from it?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like very, very cultured. Yeah.
Huh. My thought behind it was, I don't really see the wallpaper as something to show. I see it more as like a reminder to myself.
Ooh.
So I have been getting into philosophy a lot, and I just like the idea of thinking about existential questions in life. For some reason, I just think that's so important. And I just thought, I see the thinker statue as a philosophy symbol. I don't know why. Maybe it has nothing to do with philosophy, but yeah, I just put it there to remind myself, hey, think about life.
I love that. And it would have been really funny if we were just like, both of us were like, I have no idea what this statue is. I just thought it looked cool, which is also a valid answer.
Yeah.
But the second thing that came to my mind was you mentioned, you've been looking more into existential questions, right?
Yeah.
What's one that you've thought about more recently?
So right now, I think this year I've been thinking most about of like two universal questions that everybody has asked is like, are we here for a reason, or are we like an accident and we don't matter? Which both answers I think are both depressing, but also they're both very, very beautiful. Because if we don't matter, then that's freedom.
Whatever. That's existentialism in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. So this year I've been like more open to religion and thinking, is there a God? Is there a stronger spirit that has created us? Or sometimes I'll look at Earth as like, maybe it's a glass of milk that somebody left on the counter and forgot about. And then 2 weeks pass by and mold starts to grow in the milk and bacteria. And that's what we are. We're just like a forgotten thing that somebody left. And now, I mean, we're no different than bugs or bacteria. Yeah. It's all living things. And bacteria or even viruses, any creature, their main mission is to spread and grow, to populate. And, I just kind of think like, oh, what if we're an accident?
Yeah, what if we're just mold in the milk bowl? The same way that you or I, we don't think anything about the mold. Potentially, if there are other worldly divine beings, they don't think of us in the same way.
Yeah. And and hopefully they don't come back and find the glass of milk and go like, oh, I forgot I left this.
Like, oh my God, what is this mold? Hopefully, like, this is beautiful.
Oh, maybe they'll do that. They'll think we're beautiful and go like, look what I created.
Yeah.
But that's the main thing that I've been thinking about, which is...
I kind of love the milk mold analogy because it's a very modern and different twist on... There's this concept of the clockmaker God, where God is an artisan who created a clock, intricate, detailed, so many workings, but ultimately just a device that once made and once set, he walks away and it just operates on its own. And that's been old school philosophical belief on potentially here's how God might work, but I've never heard it reinterpreted as, oh no, it's not this clockwork mechanism. It's a bowl of milk and we're the mold. It shares a similarity in that, hey, like make it, set it, and forget it. But the difference is, yeah, we're just there.
Yeah.
You and we're just fun guys.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are the two universal questions, but I've never heard of that clock one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Of like trying to think if the universe is like intelligently made and specifically made this way.
Right.
And I think that since we have no clarification or information on what we're supposed to be doing here, that's the only reason why art is so important. And that's our strongest thing, is to just express how we feel. There's this story that I kind of came up with. It's very random, but there's a dancing crowd. And suddenly one person in the dancing crowd stops dancing and he looks around and he's wondering where everybody's going. So he asks the person to his left, hey, where are we going? That person stops dancing, wonders, and asks the person next to him, hey, where are we going? So on until the whole crowd isn't dancing anymore. And they're all asking the DJ up above, hey, where are we going? The DJ stops playing the music. And so he asks somebody else, which asks somebody else, until it reaches the highest person in the room. And that person wonders, turns around and finds a wheel behind him. He completely forgot that he's steering a ship. And then that makes everybody else realize, these people don't even know where we're going. And so everybody starts dancing again.
I like it. I like it. It reminds me, well, it's to your first point. There's something actually, and I happen to agree with this, beautiful and freeing of nobody knows what the true purpose is. There might not even be one. And so you can just do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like in your example, actually, your example is slightly different from what I just said, because there's an assumption like
that's pretty much the same thing, because it's like we don't know what we're doing, and that's the freedom that just makes us dance. And I think dancing is a symbolism for art. We just need to express how we feel, because we don't have anything else. That's our feelings is the only thing that's for sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
It reminds me, there's another piece of art that I really love, and I don't even quite remember what it's called, but it's by an artist called Gauguin. So Gaughin. And the piece is called, if I recall correctly, Where Have We Been? Who Are We? Where Are We Going? Like, that's actually the title of the piece. It's basically like, what have we done? Like, what are we doing? Where will we be doing things in the future? And well, because he made it in a very similar mode of thought to what you're describing. Kind of just like, what is this whole point? Like, what are we doing this for?
Yeah. And I think those are the three questions is, what are we? Where are we going? What are we doing? And I think that's, I think this year or the past couple of years have been a big existential renaissance of like people asking, what are we? Even Everything Everywhere All at Once is,
that's right.
The perfect movie that asks the same question.
In a universe where there are infinite, multiple alternate dimensions, does anything actually really matter? And it doesn't. And that's exactly the good thing about it.
Yeah.
Why this universe out of all of them?
Yeah. Yin and yang, like nothing matters, and so therefore everything matters.
Ooh, that's good.
Or maybe I said that backwards.
No, I think you're right. It's precisely because nothing matters that you get to choose anything and everything that can matter.
Yeah, there's so many places that minds go when we talk about this stuff. We're so deep right now.
Yeah, lost in the sauce.
Lost in the sauce, man.
Is that belief, that system of thinking where, hey, there is not an inherent meaning in this life? Was it something that you have always thought, or was it something new, something you discovered and learned?
Yeah, I think around age 22, well, I am 22. Around age 21.
You're like, right about now.
Right about now is when I started thinking about all of this.
Artistic epiphany in this very conversation.
No, I think it was like around age 21. So very recently.
I love how you're like 22. You're like, wait, I'm 22. Subtract 1 year. Age 21.
Yeah. Very recently that I started thinking about all of this stuff. So I don't know. I just see different ages have different mindsets, different lenses. 18, you view the world through a lens of like, I'm the center of the universe. I'm the coolest person because I'm 18. I'm an adult now, you know? And then when you get to 19 and 20, you start to realize this life's kind of hard. Damn, everybody's doing so much better than me. And then, yeah, I'm still going to see what other phases come, but yeah.
What was that moment for you where you said, hey, I'm not the center of the universe?
That's a good question. I don't know.
You're like, right now.
Right? To this 8:05 today.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just gradually. I don't know if I could say a specific point. Yeah, it was just like so gradual. Yeah.
I get that. For me, so I think this mentality you described, it's something you got to share if you're trying to create, right? Because I think creation is really, really hard when you believe there's only one right way. There's one right answer. And God, I got to get it, because if not, I'm wrong and I'm bad. And so I feel everyone who goes on the path of trying to create something of their own, in one way or another, they have to stumble across this realization just to keep going. Like, hey, maybe there is no inherent right answer. And that's exactly what frees me to make my own art, to go and explore. And I think for me, it took me actually much longer than age 22. My previous career, before doing Karat, and I mentioned this to you briefly before, I went to Harvard, I studied economics, I worked in investment banking and management consulting and big tech. And I followed that path not necessarily because from age 8, I saw product managers and engineers making apps, and it was like, this is the way. It was like, gosh, I don't know what to do with my life. And people who seem to know more than I do, e.g. parents, e.g. smart people around me, they seem to be doing these things. And like, I guess they figured out the secret before I did. So like, I should try that too. It took me much longer to be like, well, this actually, I don't love it. And even longer than that to go, and that's okay. And it's okay if I don't love it, to try and explore something else.
Yeah.
Because like, nothing you do is stupid in itself, you know, as long as you're trying.
Yeah, and again, to your point, it gives you resources for your next venture.
Yes.
And even though you don't see it in the moment, like, you know, it gives you this head start. You can use it as a catapult. I mean, what you're doing now is amazing with Karat and everything, and like that, you know, your start, you know, that would never come without that. Right. And I think it's down any career path or even personal growth path is just like, you know, making dominoes fall down. It can't keep going without the pieces in the front. So, or even if one is out, you know, you need your chronological tools that you built throughout your life in order to reach, you know, whatever comes at the end, you know.
Have you ever had a moment where you did something and you're like, that was a mistake, I don't think this is gonna fall and hit any other dominoes, I regret this?
Like just a domino piece completely on the side.
Yeah, it's just like
I mean, I just want to say the simple answer of no, but if I were to think of this answer honestly, I don't know. My mind right now is just going to like times when I was lazy, maybe phases in my life where I just sat on the couch all day. Maybe those times, but even I just think those times are important too, because
rest.
You eventually reach a really like, what's the opposite of peak?
Valley, trough.
Valley, yeah. To where that gives you the motivation, or even like a heartbreak. The like heartbreak motivation is like one of the biggest fuels. So like, I don't know. I guess I'm just answering this as in like, you need bad times to have good times. I don't know.
I like it.
Yeah. I feel like it's a cliche answer, but it's true. It's cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah, we were on that question for so long.
But that's how you know these are just meant as, you know, starting points for conversation. I think we're ready for level 2.
Okay.
That's a pretty heavy level 1.
Yeah, that is.
Are you missing anyone right now? Do you think they're missing you too? We can do a different question too if you'd like.
I feel like, yeah, I would probably do a different question.
Let's do a different question.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about it. It's all just meant as starting points for conversations.
Yeah.
Ooh, here's another good one. What would your younger self not believe about you today?
A lot. Well, no, because I've always been into the law of attraction.
Let's pick a specific young Steezy, young Steezy Kane, like age 15 maybe.
Age 15.
7 years ago.
15-year-old Steezy Kane. I didn't even have the name Steezy Kane at that time. I was Kane TV.
Kane TV.
That was my name.
Young Kane TV.
Man, what would he not believe? I think... I don't know. There's a lot of things that
You're like
that
too
I
many.
predicted.
You just meet. Oh wow! All according to plan.
Well, okay. When I was 16, I think 16 or 17, my English teacher made us write a letter to ourselves 5 years from now. And I recently got that note. Maybe I was 18 because I got the note last year. Whatever. Yeah, 17. I can't do math right now.
No worries. At a younger point, you wrote a letter to yourself.
Yeah. And I recently got that letter, and every single thing I have right now, except for one thing. And that one thing is that I wrote to myself, I know you bought your mom a house, and I haven't done that yet, which that's obviously one of my goals. But in the note, it basically said that, I think it said I have 1 million subscribers. I have 3 million. It said, I know you're living in Santa Monica or Hollywood right now. And I was reading that in my apartment on Hollywood Boulevard.
And we're in West Hollywood literally right now.
Yeah. And that part made me cry when it said, I know you're reading this in your apartment in Hollywood. And I look around and I'm here. And then it also said how that I'm able to do, it said I'm able to do, I know every morning you wake up, you decide what you want to do. And that was another thing. And I'm like, every single thing, except for that one thing, is true. Wow. But let me answer this question. I haven't answered it yet.
You're answering it. That's pretty darn cool.
What would your younger self not believe about your life today? I think of how mature I am. I don't know, like, I didn't used to always be so... I would joke around a lot, but I don't think my younger self would like that. I'm more quiet and more mature. Yeah. I think my younger self had an ego of like, you need to be a kid all your life. So that's the one thing that I wouldn't believe. But I'm glad that I'm more settled and more calm, and I talk slower.
Why do you think it was so important to your younger self that you continue to be a kid, as he would have said?
It just to not take life seriously. Yeah. Life is too serious to be taken seriously. Ooh. So, but I growing older, I realized you don't have to be some hooligan all your life or loud and joking. You could still have fun while being mature. I think Bryan Cranston is a perfect example of that. I don't know, you could just tell the way he moves and the way he like jokes around. He's so mature and so thoughtful, but he's the most biggest goofball ever at the same time.
It's kind of cool because you get to see that goofball side more pronounced in Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah. All right, almost exclusively just on the goofball side, but it's a lot more powerful in the context of like Breaking Bad, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you could still see the goofball in him in Breaking Bad. Right. But I guess outside from when he's playing a character, from behind the scenes footage or even in interviews, I could just tell like he's so calm with himself, but he's having fun. Yeah. He's dancing around like, I aspire to be like him. He's really good.
I think it's another great example of nobody knows what you're doing and how it's going to lead to. You could picture, I don't remember exactly, 15, 20 years ago, if you told someone that Bryan Cranston's going to be considered one of the most powerful and skillful dramatic character actors of our time.
Yeah.
If I'd been like, what? Or
Nobody would believe that.
Like, this guy?
Yeah.
Like, if you took a random character from like, I don't know, like iCarly, and you're like, yeah, they're going to win an Oscar. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is true. Even with Brad Pitt, in the beginning, he was like the pretty boy in the industry. He was like the TikToker
I didn't
of
know
their
that.
time. He was like the dancing, like dressing up, like cute boy. And then he got casted into Fight Club and everything changed. But that is beautiful. And that's what gives me a lot of hope, is like seeing people who have completely shifted into something else. Even Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
You know, he's just a goofball making comedy sketches.
Director.
And now he's like directing horror films.
And extremely successful too.
Yeah.
What is it? Get Out.
Get Out.
And Nope.
Us and Nope. Yeah, he has a beautiful mind.
And the titles are so powerful too. They're so simple.
They're so simple. Yeah, his branding is great.
Yeah. All right, let's do another one. Level 2. This time you're gonna pull one. Oh, it's a wild card. We can do a different one.
Okay. What has been your earliest recollection of happiness?
Earliest. That's hard. I'm trying to think, how far does my memory even go? I remember, it's probably not my earliest, but when I was thinking about the other day, I remember New Jersey. So we grew up originally in Canada next to a nuclear power plant. My dad worked there as a nuclear physicist. My friends say that explains a lot. And when I was 5 years old, my mom was like, let's not raise our kids next to nuclear radiation. Then we moved a bunch to Indiana and eventually to New Jersey. And my parents are still in New Jersey today. I remember, though, in New Jersey, it's precisely because it didn't happen much, but there's a day where my brother and I, my younger brother and my dad, we just like played kickball in the backyard, right? We just had like this like soft, bouncy volleyball-esque, and we just started kicking it around. It was really fun. And I think for me, that memory of happiness is so distinct because it's also a little bit edged with sadness, in the sense that we did that so rarely, right? My childhood was so focused on, hey, you got to go get a job. You got to study up. You got to make sure you get into the right places and work for the right people. It was so rare to just have moments of, oh, we're just like kicking a ball around and it's like chill and it's like casual and there's no agenda really. There's no goal. You're just having a good time. I think that's so rare, and that's exactly why I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful and also bitter in a way of like how you said that the sadness is that it happened very rarely, but sometimes like when something happens less frequently, it makes those moments deeper in a way. Even though it's not the best for it to not happen too often. But I think memories like that, especially with family, is super important.
What about for yourself? Either the earliest, or it doesn't have to be earliest, just like a particularly memorable moment of happiness that you remember for you.
Vividly, because everything before 6 years old is so blurry, but I would say when I was 6, my dad was in the military, and he was being stationed into Germany, and then we decided that we're gonna move with him.
Wow.
Because that base allowed the family to stay on the base. So 6 years old, I remember it was at night. My mom wakes us up to go to the airport. So tired. We go to the airport, flying on this big plane, get to Germany, get in our apartment, and I go to sleep. And I wake up I was tired that whole time, so it felt like a dream. I woke up not knowing where I was, and I look around and it's Germany, and it just felt like I just teleported over there. And then in Germany, like it would snow a lot up to your knees, and I don't know, just escaping America. You know, I think that's like my earliest vivid memory, and I'm so happy just being in Germany. It was just great, and we lived there for 2 years.
What about you wake up and you're like, I've been teleported to Germany. What about it brought you so much happiness? Was it getting to leave the situation you were in, knowing that your dad was there? Yeah.
I think it was the first time I saw something so different. I mean, it was so early in my life, so it's I was lucky to be able to experience something that early. But yeah, growing up in Austin, Austin's all I knew. And at the time, Austin was a town. It was a little unknown town.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do there. And then, yeah, I think it was just seeing the world was what made me happy. And also being with my dad, because we thought he was going to go over there by himself, but then we collectively made the idea.
That would have been really hard, 2 years or X period of time without seeing your dad.
Yeah. But since we moved over there with him, we got to just be there. So, yeah.
So you mentioned your dad in the military, and I'm asking because you've had such a strong creative drive in you since you were young. Was your mom or your dad, were either of them also creatively inclined or motivated?
Yeah, my dad was also, he was super into film and media and Photoshop and stuff.
Oh,
and
wow.
He taught me, he had a computer in the room and he would teach me how to use Photoshop. Like, we'll take pictures of my brothers and he's like, shows me how to warp their eyes and make them look ugly and stuff. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And he taught me how to edit videos. He showed me this one software called Pinnacle Studio 14. Oh my God, that was my baby. But yeah, he let me play on his computer all the time and taught me how to. So yeah, definitely. So my dad did that, showed me how to be creative, and then my mom bought me a computer and a camera. Do you remember those little flip cameras?
I do.
Yeah.
The old school.
Bought that little thing. She was always against us using technology, but after we turned like 10, after I turned 10, 11, she gave me the resources and I owe it all to them for sure.
Do you remember the first video you ever recorded on that flip phone?
Yes. The first big video, I guess, I made a short film with my brothers.
Yeah.
I just kind of made up a story called The Unbeatable. It wasn't any good, obviously. It was my first film. I was 8 years old.
We don't know it wasn't any good. What was it about?
It was called The Unbeatable, and it was just like one of my brothers became a monster who was unbeatable, and we had to figure out how to defeat him. It's what we call
a high concept.
A high concept.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
There's pitches in Hollywood where it's high concept, where simply based off the concept and situation, can you imagine it? So like, for example, like Inception, right?
Mm-hmm.
You enter people's dreams to change how they think.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a concept.
Just so out there.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, like there's something interesting. It's like, oh yeah, my brother's an unbeatable monster. The unbeatable. It's like, all right.
Yeah, you love Inception, huh? That was the second time you brought it up.
Really? What was first?
Do you love, I forgot, I think it was before we started. Sure. But do you love Christopher Nolan films?
I do. I think I just really liked Inception too, because I've always had an interest in the mind.
I love Inception as well.
Yeah, and how it works. And I think there's a reason why I thought of it when I said high concept. Just like such an interesting premise, right? So like a low concept movie, quote unquote, would be like, oh, like Eric goes to school. And like it could still be like an amazing film. I mean, think of Bo Burnham and what was it, 7th grade, 8th grade?
8th grade.
8th grade, right? Like
I haven't seen that. I need to see it.
I haven't seen it either. we need to. Maybe say next time you come, we'll watch it.
We both bring up movies that we haven't seen.
Yeah, we'll go through
but we still know everything about them. That's so funny.
Yeah, because we follow. We read, right? And so like that's an example of what's called a low concept film. And that first of all,
have you seen Inside though?
Which one that's called?
Inside? Bo Burnham's Inside?
No, I haven't, but I've listened to so many of the songs.
The songs are so good,
The songs are excellent.
Yo, you need to watch that.
Inside, that's his COVID era one where he produces it.
So what's beautiful about it is it just shows how you can make incredible art out of nothing.
Yes.
Because he's inside the whole time.
I haven't. That's where Welcome to the Internet comes from, right? Welcome to the internet.
Oh yeah,
Do, do,
yeah,
do,
yeah, yeah.
do.
Yeah, all of those songs. He won Oscar, or he won a Grammy for the last song, which is insane.
I love his work so much. I've
Yeah.
definitely listened to many of them on repeat. Have you seen the one? It was What, not Insiders, What, and he does a remix where people are coming to Burnham after he's blown up and he's made it big, and he makes a skit about people all making asks of him, like, oh, Bo, like, make me laugh, or like, Bo, can you meet my friend, or like, Bo, Mr. Burnham, can you sign with my label? And he remixes the voice into this like orchestral song about.
Wow.
Okay, I'll have to show this to you later.
Yeah,
it's
I
really
haven't seen
good.
that one. That's very creative.
And
Of,
did
like-
he started as a YouTuber?
Yeah, he did. Him, Issa, Donald Glover.
Yes.
Um,
People always forget Derek Comedy. That's where Donald came from.
yeah, Derek Comedy.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Oh,
I go
yeah.
back and watch those videos very
Me
often.
too. Oh, so good.
But all of them are the exact same approach that I'm trying to take. They I don't know, that group of YouTube is just so much different. I feel like that should be its own genre of people. They treat it so much more preciously, and I don't say that to degrade anything else. I just say it's on a lower quantity level, to where they just take time with their projects. Like Issa started the Awkward Black Girl show and got it picked up by HBO and turned into Insecure.
Yeah.
Like that is exactly what I'm trying to do right now with my show.
Views, you said.
Yeah, I'm trying to start it on YouTube and get it picked up. And even Donald Glover, how he like became a writer for SNL and then started making music and stand up and
now everything.
Oh man, I love those three people so much.
I especially love how, and it's funny enough because you mentioned going to Creator Camp, which was helped run by Max Reisinger. Did I pronounce his last name? Is it Reisinger or Reisinger?
I don't know. How to
Max,
pronounce
we'll
it.
have to ask you this after. We're so sorry. Max,
We will.
Max and Ryan Ng. And Ryan actually was the one who brought up, he also mentioned Donald and Bo to me, and the reason why is you don't even think of them as YouTubers anymore. They've almost transcended whatever that original label was.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I cannot explain why the word YouTuber is, in a way, degrading, at least personally for me.
Yeah.
Even the word creator or influencer. And I think I'm a huge word guy. Words are very powerful. And I'm trying to take that word away from my image because I want to be like how Donald Glover, you don't label him at all. You just label him as Donald Glover. But
it's fascinating. I think especially because YouTuber in particular, it's very reductive. Like YouTube is a tech platform, right? It's a medium. It's a means.
Yeah.
And I think you happen to use YouTube, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are a YouTuber.
I love how you just phrased that. That is exactly the motto I'm trying to use, or the phrase is like, I'm trying to get to a place where YouTube happens to be where I post my work.
Yeah.
Not being a YouTuber.
Yeah, it's because it's an effective way of reaching a lot of people and showing what you can do starting from relatively nothing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you are a YouTuber.
Yeah.
So how would you, if we were to redo our introduction, how would you prefer to introduce yourself? Knowing that now.
I don't know.
That's the hard thing,
yeah,
right?
That's the hard thing. I'm kind of, I like the title independent filmmaker, but I haven't done the work to deserve that title yet. So that's, I'm okay with being called a YouTuber. Cause that's just who I am in my point of life. So I accept the era that I'm in.
Right, but an aspiration for more.
Yeah. But I'm letting the movie play out. I mean, this is just an unraveling story. But I really love how Spike Lee made his films back in the day, how he was just a kid running around New York with a camera. They were independently made. Yeah. They were independent films. And that's where I want to get to with my films, is like, I want to show people that they don't need like a whole set crew.
Right.
Or they don't need to be like super highly produced. Nowadays, I mean, we have the gear. Getting a drone shot today versus 1970, where you need to hire a helicopter pilot and all of this stuff. I mean, the stuff we have access to is insane.
And I think what Mr. Beast has proven is you can get a lot of people to watch.
Yeah.
And
he's definitely proven that.
That's step one, right? Because you're talking almost like Step 2 in a way where it's almost like the je ne quoi, like the quality of a high quality work of production can also be replicated with much simpler and easier devices.
Yeah.
So the unbeatable, your brother, unbeatable monster. You just shot him with your flip camera, yeah?
Yeah.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 3.
3, older or younger?
All younger.
All younger.
Yeah.
Are they similarly following in your footsteps or thinking about different things?
Not really.
You're like,
none,
no.
none of them else really do any. Not the word really. They don't at all do any media stuff.
Right.
Which, I'm really curious to see what their aspirations are, like what they eventually end up wanting to do.
What are they more interested in? Broadly speaking.
I mean, the second oldest one, he told me that he's like into earlier on he was into drop shipping or even like getting a camera and doing real estate photos, and that eventually like leads to what your passion is, because like even I almost started out doing real estate photos, but I don't think there's anything specific as of right now.
Right. TBD.
Huh?
To be determined. To be determined.
To be determined. Yeah.
It reminds me, well, the cool thing about the power of YouTube today is like you could start with one thing, and just as you eventually found your way here, you could, there are creators like Bia Heza who literally have millions of views talking about drop shipping, right? This drop shipping is busy, starting to make videos about it. That actually started to blow up in itself. So
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. I was just talking about this with somebody earlier today, is that nowadays, like any industry needs, they don't need, but it will help a lot with media.
Yeah, you want to show what you're doing, your message to the world.
Yeah, and ironically, specific industries are better at thriving in social media. Like usually when somebody blows up on YouTube and becomes a creator, let's say a vlogger, for example, YouTube becomes their life. And eventually they get to a point where they're filming themselves being a YouTuber. Right. And I call that imploding content.
Ouroboros, sort of recursive.
Yeah. Hey guys, I just got done recording the last segment of the video. Now I'm sitting here editing the video. So, when YouTube becomes your main thing, vlogging becomes your main thing, it just kind of collapses in on itself. But when somebody does something specific, like I heard Kelly Stamps was saying that she wants to get her pilot's license and wants to vlog as being a commercial pilot. And I think that's just, I know it's not strategic. I know that comes from her actual
she
passion.
Actually wants to.
She wants to,
It's cool.
Yeah. Because I'm not trying to say that it's like a strategy. Oh, that's genius. But her being a vlogging commercial pilot will crush. Like people want to see a pilot's life.
It's in a weird way, like the way to make the best vlogging content is just like live an interesting life and then just capture it.
Yeah. Yeah. And too many people don't realize that you need something else in order to like showcase.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I think I've noticed there's like a certain older generation of creators, not older in the sense of like nigga higa, like they were on YouTube earlier, but older that they're coming on to becoming creators more recently, but they're a little bit older in age. Many of them start making content tied to like what their day jobs were, right? One of my most top favorite creators is Mickey Rai, who started off as a nurse. A lot of her content's about nursing, right? Jeannie Weenie was an air flight stewardess attendant. Stevie Oe was an EMT. Many of them, your rich BFF used to work at JP Morgan in finance. So many of them start by making content just about the lives that they're living. People are like, I want to know.
That's amazing. The only problem is that, again, like, I mean, if somebody knows this and is aware of it, they can avoid it. But yeah, once somebody starts showcasing what they're doing, it's easy for that showcasing to become the main character.
Oh, totally. There's like this expression, is the dog wagging the tail or is the tail wagging the dog?
Yeah.
And then you might shift.
I never heard that one.
It's like very, very old school.
Huh.
I have a lot of expressions where even my co-founder is like, where did this come from? I'm like, it's real. Look it up. And he looks it up in Google. It's like antiquated expression, archaic.
Wow.
But it's one of my favorites.
Research.
The dog wagging the tail or is the tail wagging the dog?
Yeah, no, that's so simple.
Yeah.
That's genius.
All right, let's do a level 3.
Oh, here we go.
I think it's your turn to pull one.
All right. If in one word, describe how you feel right now.
Happy. I've been pretty, honestly, I've been pretty stressed recently. As I mentioned to you, I've been going through a breakup recently. Also, work has been really hard, right? I've mentioned to you, we started a bookkeeping tax business, and there's so many things to learn and make sure we do a good job there. So that's been really stressful. I hurt my shoulder. I don't feel like I've been having a great day the past couple weeks with my acne. So even being on camera, I'm a little self-conscious. So I've generally just been honestly feeling pretty down. And it's the same thing I described as just a game of kickball with your dad and your brother. There's just these precious moments where you just kind of forget about everything. You're just enjoying it for what it is. That's also why I like pickleball. There's these brief moments where I'm just in the middle of a game, just trying to hit it back. I like it.
Yeah. Which, by the way, he put me onto pickleball, everybody. I'm now going to be playing pickleball regularly in my life.
Isaiah is talented for someone's first time. There's some skills there.
Oh, stop it.
Pickleball future king.
But I'm serious. I'm going to start playing a lot.
Oh, I would love
I think I'm going to even just start going to courts and just playing with anybody who's there. It looks like a really good way to meet people too.
It absolutely is. Yeah. And if you come and settle in LA longer, every Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys said you do it every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Okay, well, perfect.
Yeah, and it's always with a similar mix. The people aren't always exactly the same. It's all people in our industry, in our world.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm moving back in April, so I'll be coming. I'll be coming. I'll be there. I'll try to be there every Saturday. If not most.
So one of my friends, and I did a podcast with him too, is Stephen Huh.
Yeah.
Who, again, as I mentioned to you before, emotional damage.
Yeah.
And he came last weekend. He has paddles now. He bought his, pickleball paddles are expensive. They're over $100 each. So I'm like, oh, wow, you've gotten to the point where you now bought your own paddles. You are pickling in. You're deep now.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get to that point. Probably when I move here. I'm going to buy my own paddles.
I'm extremely excited to play more pickleball with you. And second, there's these moments where you're just playing and you're enjoying. And in this podcast with you, there have been moments where I'm just I'm just having a good time. I'm just talking.
Yeah,
and in a way, I feel happy and I also feel sad because the podcast's going to end. Yeah. And then I'm going to back to regular life of all the different things that I'm worried about. So it's almost like a nice little, it's a chill, calm, it's a little bubble, a protected moment in time.
That's good, man. But you got to remember the ending is what makes it good.
Yeah.
The
Are you
ending
talking about life or podcast?
Everything. Because when I was little, I always, whenever my family was thinking about getting a pet or something, I don't know why I always had this mindset of, oh, what's the point of even getting a dog? It's going to die. Yeah. I don't want to get attached to something because I know 10 years later down the line, it's going to die. I'm going to be crying. And, I kind of came to a realization. My ex made me realize this, that everything ends. She heard me say that and she's like, she called me dumb, which I needed to be called dumb. She's like, when you watch a movie, it ends. Your life, it's going to end. Everything, if something didn't end, it wouldn't be enjoyable. It's so simple and so obvious, but I never saw it until this time in my life. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I just took you saying the end of the podcast and made it so deep.
No, I really agree with that. I actually fundamentally believe with you that everything does end.
Yeah.
And even your best friends, even your best relationship, it will end at some point. Even couples who stay together until the end of time, one person will die first. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's scary.
It is really sad, right?
Yeah.
And I think the optimistic framing on that is to treasure the moments in time you do have together, precisely because everything does end. And the pessimistic view on that is, which is why we focus on the optimistic framing.
Yeah. I like how you say the view on that is
yeah, because there's basically two ways to think about it. One is goddamn. The other is, and therefore we will treasure the moments we have together because we know, not due to malice, right, or ill intent, everything ends eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
One more. This is a great one to end on. When in this game did you feel most connected to me?
When you brought up the story of moments with your dad, that happened very rarely. That's true to me as well, because obviously my dad was in the military, so I didn't have a lot of time with him. But I think that's when I felt most connected, and also I kind of remembered that moments can go deeper if it's like less frequent. I don't know. Maybe that's a way of me justifying it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of like struck a nerve in me and like made me remember my childhood as well. Because me and my dad used to play football, but that happened maybe 3 times, and those memories, I hold them so dearly, and so vividly too. Yeah.
Same. I think in some ways, that's why you mentioned you see things, you see life in a lot of like stories, right? And there's like the broader narrative arc of like you, Isaiah, me, Eric, and then within that, there are like these little moments you remember, like, you know, it helps to think of it not as incidents. Oh, you got to play football, I got to play kickball, but it's like they're little stories in themselves. Like that time when, remember, we went out and we took the ball and we tossed it around.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of things happened before that. A lot of things happened after that. But there was just a little moment, just a little self-contained. Yeah, that was a good story, and that was a good memory. And yeah, I mean, I hear you. It just, there's almost just like a deep sadness, right? When you just like, for me, when I think about like, I mean, I think overall there are many people who've had far worse experiences than I did. But sometimes, you know, I bet there are people who like got to play football with their dad like every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, well, that would have been nice. But
Yeah.
But if you have kids now,
Huh?
if you have kids one day,
I thought you were saying I presently have kids. I was like, do I have kids?
Surprise, as of 5 minutes ago. No,
yeah.
you can go play football.
Kids is a whole nother thing, man. That's a whole nother thought.
Do you know for sure if you want to have them?
I always said all my life I don't want kids.
Yeah.
Kids are annoying. What's the point of even having them? But yeah, as I get older, I realize, I want to start a family, but not until I'm 33 is my age. I don't know why 33 is, well, I mean, I do know why. That's, I think, the perfect time to get the most amount of work done.
That gives you 12 years, right?
Yeah.
You're 21.
11 years.
Oh, you're 22.
Yeah, 22.
I can't do math either.
Yeah.
Math is hard.
Math is hard when you're on podcasts for some reason.
Because we're focused on the conversation. We're not focused on
when cameras aren't rolling, math is like...
Don't worry, we're both way smarter off of camera.
Yeah. Just keep in mind, disclaimer.
Yeah.
We have cameras on us, so we are slightly dumber right now.
Yeah. You think it's easy? You try going on camera. It's actually, there is an adjustment. It's actually hard.
Yeah, there's a whole thing in the skate world.
Yeah.
When you're being filmed, you can't land any tricks, which is so true.
Yeah, because the pressure. You know, there's actually a study where they notice when people are watching you, the things that you do well, like they've just been practiced, like down pat, the little extra anxiety and pressure, it actually helps you do even better. But if it's something you don't yet do well, or you just haven't got enough practice, you will do worse.
I didn't know that that pressure would make you do better if you're very well at it.
They can. If it's something you've just rehearsed down cold. I feel this too in moments where, like, I've done a lot of public speaking in my life. Sometimes there's that moment where I'm right before a crowd and I feel that tension. And regardless of how it actually ends up being, that's, you know, up to other people's judgment, I feel in those moments like I'm going to nail this. I'm nervous, I'm scared, but I'm ready. Yeah. And then there are moments where I'm just like, people are watching and I feel like a goddamn dumbass. Please, nobody look at me.
Yeah. You can't really even predict how you're going to feel.
Yeah. When's the last time you felt that uncomfortable?
With this TV show that I started working on when I had my first pitch meeting, It was with Disney. It wasn't an official pitch meeting. It was like a pre-pitch. I was pitching to the showrunner's assistant.
Yeah.
And there were 2 girls in the Zoom. And this was my first time doing something outside of YouTube, pitching to these important people. And I didn't know any etiquette, nothing about pitching shows. So knowing that I was going into this new field without knowing what and what not to do, I was super nervous, man. I don't know. And then they were nice enough to tell me all the things I did wrong.
Aww.
They were like, when you pitch, don't read straight off the screen. Execs will leave the Zoom if you do that. Also, don't ambush people with a slideshow. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh, by the way, boom.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's so many etiquettes to show running. So just, I don't know, going into something new and knowing that I'm going to offend or do something weird without knowing, that's so...
Too many unknowns.
Yeah.
I think the moment for me when I felt most connected to you is actually toward the end when you talked about, you said, yeah, everything comes to an end in life.
Mm-hmm.
That resonated with me deeply because it's something I've been grappling with a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad and just figuring out how to make the most of it.
It's sad, but that's what makes it beautiful. Like the rain is what makes a rainbow.
That's good, man. You're dropping some heavy lines today.
the bad days, without any bad days, there'll be no good days. Like it's just, it's yin and yang. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, the answer to everything is balance. What goes one way goes the other way. What goes up must come down. When you're happy, you're gonna be sad.
Yeah.
And another thing is, each human expression has 2 meanings. When you're smiling, or let's say you're crying, that could either mean that you're laughing, tears of joy, or it can mean that you're sobbing.
Right.
When you're, I don't know, smiling, that can be...
Could be forced.
That could be forced, or it could be pure joy. I don't know. I'm still working on that. That's another philosophy.
There's actually there's this website called TV Tropes where they document different tropes you see in the movies and shows. And there's one actually called The Stepford Smiler. And it's based off this old this show called The Stepford Wives, where it chronicles suburbia, where these women seem really happy, but they're actually miserable. And so they just got really good at learning to smile and seem happy. So there's something very real to that.
Yeah. Huh.
All right. On that note, we'll come to an end on this.
Awesome.
Isaiah, thanks so much for making time.
Thank you.
Yeah, come over here. Give me
awesome.
a hug. How you feeling?
I feel way more connected.
Me too, brother. That's great, man.